So, aside from being the event host, I was also given the privilege of hosting a panel of my own, so to say. So let's bring our speakers to the floors. Where is Akil Rajdho? Please join us. Let's have Jose, and let's have Miloš as well. Please join me here. I'll just introduce us real quick. Akil comes from POC, from Albania, and among his other interesting projects, he spearheaded the development of SMEP, an online platform which manages the educational data of every student, which is a very, very nice topic. He also mentors engineers. Then we have Jose. The Barreda he's part of the IFC. He's a well-known partner. They are a well-known partner to Finticipate and the Serbian FinTech crowd. Among others, he has advised major players such as the IDB, the USAID, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, World Bank, the list goes on and on and on, all on digital transformation, financial inclusion, and strategy, which will be our actually first topic of the day. Miloš Milošević of Presto, he aims to transform banks into a seamless one-stop shop experience as board president of ICT Cortex. He works with regulators, industry leaders, and the government to create a fintech system in Montenegro ready to answer modern demands. So, Jose, we were talking yesterday afternoon about finances and disability. So let's start off with this and let's have a breakdown of where we are in terms of finances, apps, disability, poor visibility, or sign language or whichever. Tell us a bit about this.
Sure. Actually, I was telling you that the National Bank of Ukraine entrusted us to figure out, due to the war, as you can imagine, there are many people that are physically disabled due to the sequels of the war after 3 years. And they try to figure out not only how to give them, let's say, physical access to a branch, which is a relatively easy thing to do, but also what if they have, for example, become deaf because of the artillery shelling or many other things. So we did quite a long research and find out, as I told you yesterday, that there are, let's say, more sensible financial institutions in the Anglo-Saxon world than usually you would find in other parts, like, for example, in continental Europe. There are many examples drawing from the UK, from the US, for example. There are a few banks like Citi in the US who have talking ATMs for those that are impaired with other cognitive senses, so that they can do anything without basically even using their fingers. In the UK, on the contrary, there is a lot of sensibility around disabilities. And for example, they have documents, Barclays have documents that are printed in Braille for those who are deaf, do not have any visual, or they have visual impairments. They also print special contracts for those who are, let's say, impaired visually but still can see, so that the font is extremely large. And they have also developed applications with also large numbers to interact with the bank. That is something that I think is worth mentioning. There are some other interesting examples. For example, in Germany, as you know, they have received since the Syrian war a lot of migrants from many parts of MENA region and from other parts of conflicted, affected areas. And they have developed a very simplified form of KYC that is in more than 10 languages in order to onboard these migrants that at the end of the day they're working for German companies, and these German companies, as you know, Germans are relatively strict, and therefore this thing of paying with cash and envelopes, it's something that they're not allowed to, so they need to go through a bank account. And N26 spotted this opportunity.
It's quite exciting. I mean, I know we have bank folks in the crowd. Where are my banking people? If there's anyone that wants to comment, if you're implementing something similar or if you're thinking about it, feel free to raise your hand and jump in the conversation. No? Okay, fair enough. So let's, we were also talking, while we were preparing, Akil, for the panel, we were talking about, again, along the lines of accessibility to finance, why are remittances from our diaspora markets to our host countries, why are they so difficult? Where is our remittance unicorn? Where is it?
Coming up. So remittances are a bit very hard to get into our market. The main problem, especially for Albania, is that we still rely heavily on cash. And many people that live abroad send money with old channels like Western Union, RIA, MoneyGram, etc.
Or buses. Someone mentioned buses here.
Yeah, lots of buses, but those are informal. So I'm focusing on the formal ones. And to get this money, you have to present yourself with a passport to a shop, which is time-consuming. It's not very feasible, etc., etc. So what we are trying to do now is we're partnering with Visa, and we're launching within 2 weeks the first Visa Direct program in our country. So hopefully, if we market it correctly, people that live abroad can send now money directly from their bank account, from their wallets, to a wallet of the recipient. And because we have developed our wallet in a way that is a super app, meaning that people there can pay utility bills, can transfer money, can have digital cards, can send money, can make QR payments, etc. We are creating an ecosystem now that basically whenever you receive money digitally, you don't need cash anymore. So this is our goal that we are building together with Visa.
But let's stay with you for a second. I was looking at POC Marketplace, and we were talking about this. I'm curious, now because you said, okay, there's the money transfer, but then there's other products attached to this. What's the success? How are the customers responding in Albania?
Well, also in our platform, we've built a functionality where businesses can include their link, and once the user clicks that link, it gets automatically logged in together with all the wallet, the balance, and the cards that he has saved in there, and he can check out very, very fast. However, with Marketplace, we had some, our hopes were high, but Temu became pretty strong in our country. I don't know if it's present in Serbia. And people are buying from Temu like crazy. However, the good news is that they are still using our digital cards, so we still have some business in there.
So at least there's some revenue stream going on.
Yeah, correct.
All right, Miloš, let's switch to you for a second. We were talking about remittances, obviously, but how about peer-to-peer cross-border transfers between these regional countries? Montenegro is not in the open Balkan, but we have Albania, Serbia, and North Macedonia. But where are we? As a region, is there an initiative to create kind of an instant non-SEPA mechanism that would include us all?
Well, we have, when there was an idea for a direct payment between Serbia, Bosnia, Montenegro, there was an initiative, but only one bank actually has applied to the Central Bank of Montenegro, being Universal Capital Bank. They've got the license to do this, and they do have a direct money transfers with, I think in Serbia with 13 banks, and that's pretty much real time. However, on the level of, it's a small bank, so it doesn't have a big customer base. So what I'm expecting is that with the PSPs that are actually bridging that gap between them for sending money, that for peer-to-peer is a segment that can actually work. That's something that is still also in Montenegro being done through Western Union and RIA and MoneyGram at the moment, and post services by the country. Yeah.
Right. So then, if you can just turn off your mic. Then we were talking also about, let's say, you said there's one bank that applied. Jose, what's your experience of other markets around the world? What's the drive to introduce either instant payments or remittances or the penetration, let's say, of technology among the population, segregated or stratified by demographics, by whichever. Tell us a bit about this. This was a really nice conversation we had.
All right. I don't know how to start. It's a very wide question. Let's break it into manageable pieces. There are, as we had in our prep call, I think there are many countries that has leapfrogged what we have in Europe. Okay, in Europe we have roads, we have street lights. I think I'm stating the obvious, but you will see where I'm trying to go to. There are buildings and there are bank branches, okay? And these bank branches may have ATMs, etc. But there are other parts of the world that do not have bank branches, or if they have them very separated, and they cannot have any meaningful penetration in the population. So what they have done is using mobile apps, in this case mobile wallets, to precisely provide access to finance to this. This has mainly happened, as you know, in Southeast Asia and Pacific, Africa, and many parts of Latin America. In our case, what the banks has done, and this is getting back to the first part of your question, is we started with internet banking, and then we moved to mobile banking, and now what is the next hype? What is the next thing that banks are moving? And although you may think that is something that is being pushed by the supply, that is the banks, that is not the case. Actually, instant payments, and that's what I'm trying to get to, it's something that was, I would say, very much demanded. Maybe it was a latent demand and not very explicitly voiced. But the true fact is that it's offering two main advantages. One is instantaneous, and secondly, it's irrevocable and it's final. So the moment you press to send, the other person has the money in their bank account. And this little or minor detail is not minor at all. It's the first time in banking history that we are sending something and the other person is looking at it and realizing that they have the money right away, and they don't need to wait, or they don't need to check in their internet or in their mobile app. You know, and then it needs to go through clearing and the batch, whatever, and it takes time. And this is something that is going to be, in my humble opinion, a mindset shift, if you want, in the next years to come. This was now being offered, as you know, Blix, Bisms, and the like in mobile banking through mobile applications. But this is going to become the new normal with SEPA for any bank transfer, not only within a domestic market, but also internationally within the borders of SEPA banks.
Thank you. I'm just going to ask a non-scientific question to Miloš and Akil. Both of you, I suppose you can answer. To me, kind of instinctively, it seems that, you know, if we as a region, if we're not catching up to e-banking or you know, mobile banking, there seems to be an intrinsic distrust towards institutions, national, financial, etc. In the case of Albania, it was the financial collapse of the 90s. Montenegro in the former Yugoslavia, same kind of a thing of hyperinflation. Do you think that people are culturally, number one, too old demographically, but also culturally are afraid of losing their money and that they like to physically see it? This is a question for both of you.
Maybe I'll start. We did a study actually towards the end of the last year with an agency just to understand a little bit the behaviors of the people and why they're in lines waiting in front of the post office to pay for their utility bills when there are so many apps that actually are allowing this to happen. And a paradox is that actually you have electric power company setting up places in shopping malls so to actually get the payments rather than people digitalizing everything. So it got to a point where there is obviously a habit that tends to be something that is popping up as an issue, and lack of financial literacy. And having the money in the account, I think the older generation, so to speak, in a way they still don't feel that it's safe enough. So we had a collapse of the banking system and everything, and many people lost their money, and I don't think that this is still kind of like present in the society in a way. And also many people, what we found, which was really surprising, we discussed about this in the study, is why people actually, when they receive the payment, because it's obligatory, for example, also in Montenegro, like what Jose was saying in Germany, to receive the money directly in the account by the employer, you can't pay your employee in cash. Why the people are actually taking all the money out? And what it seems to happen is that everybody is like so much in debt with loans and everything, and they want to control when the bank actually charges them for the installment rate. So the only way they can actually be in charge or when the money is going to be paid is if they take all the money out. So they're always and constantly handling cash. And I think it really requires a shift in mindset. We are not seeing that in younger population. This is something that I'm really hoping for. Montenegro has been independent since 2006, and basically we're getting to a stage where we will have youngsters who were born only in Montenegro and know only Montenegro and such, and don't carry this along. They're entering the workforce, so I'm definitely expecting a shift in mindset for sure.
Understood. Akil, you want to add something?
Yeah, so in Albania the situation is pretty similar. I would say that people above the 50s still do not trust electronic money, and even for utility payments, for example. I have a funny story. One of my former employees now lives in Berlin, and he pays the electricity bill for his grandfather through our app. And once every 2 months, his grandfather still goes to the office of the Corporation of Energy and still gets the stamp in his papers. So it's that level of
Because he has to get it, or he
no,
just wants to?
No, he just wants to because he's used to that kind of way. Like he says to his grandson, "I know you paid, but I still want my stamp."
And I need the stamp so I can put it in a drawer and I can wait for someone to ask me if I paid it.
Yeah, so if anything happens, I have the papers that I paid. However, the younger generation is more used to electronic money. This maybe is a part because of COVID, because during COVID e-commerce exploded, especially in Albania. We have like some brands that helped a lot, like Zara. All the women like used to shop online and pay online through Zara. Now with Temu, PayPal and stuff like that, they helped quite a lot. So in the younger generation, it's not a problem. They are more adaptive to electronic money.
We're 2/3 of the way through our panel. If someone wants to ask a question or make a comment, yes, the lady right here in the third row. Whichever you prefer. I suppose in English maybe for the speakers. But I don't have the mic.
Ok, Vesna Lapčić, portal Sve o novcu and monthly magazine World of Insurance. I don't know, maybe you heard that Holland Central Bank yesterday announced one advice to all citizens that they should have cash for 3 days, 70 euro per adults, and I think 30 euros per child because of this, what was happened in Spain and Portugal. I will talk about that on national TV later. That is one of topic, and because of the global situation and because of the cyber attacks. And I just want to know your comment of that. Do you think that people should have some cash because of these events?
I think I would be in a very good position. I come from Spain. So I think, and now I'm going to answer you in the capacity of citizen, right? Not in the capacity of representing IFC. I think it's commonsensical to hold cash after what happens. And I'm telling you some anecdotal evidence of what I saw. So I was talking actually with the National Bank of Ukraine, and all of a sudden we went black zero. No electricity whatsoever. So no internet, nothing, no refrigerator, nothing. No lifts, no elevators, nothing. So of course I couldn't check the mobile phone, the news, or switch on the telly because nothing. And of course I I thought, okay, there must be, some rogue guys, a cyber attack, and then, well, little by little, we didn't, actually I don't have even a radio, because some people could listen to the news through the radio, but I don't even have a radio. I use internet to listen to the radio. So somebody, at the end of the day, the word is spread out, and we realized that there was this issue. What I can tell you is that then I realized that the only thing I could do is do some tourism. So went out of my house. I live in the center of Madrid, and I roamed the streets. What I saw is thousands of people getting out from their offices back to their houses, and tons of tourists. And those guys could not withdraw any money from the ATM. And many were waiting for a queue in a taxi to get back to the airport, and they couldn't pay. So they were really stuck. And the mayor of the city hall needs to figure out a way to fleet some buses to get these people out. So the bottom line is that I think we should, what the Central Bank of Holland, of the Netherlands have issued, I think may sound a little bit like alarmistic, but after what we have gone through, to me, it doesn't. Actually, I don't know, my daughter says that I must be a spy, because actually hours before, and no kidding, I withdraw like 500 euro. So I had a lot of money in cash, so I was relatively at ease, but that's not my normal behavior. And what I realized is that we really need cash. Yeah. And I confronted this with the Central Bank of Spain in Zurich, a person going there, and he said, yeah, cash is necessary.
For me, I was just going to add, if I can take off my moderator hat for a second, in Serbia we have problems with flash floods all the time, right? Big rain falls, and then, in Western Serbia, let's say, whichever river flows out. It's never a bad idea to have a case of water, 5 cans, and some, dry cookies, just to kind of survive until help arrives and until this water retreats. This doesn't mean the world is ending and that we have, a Noah Ark level of flooding. It just means that the water is poisoned and we cannot drink it. I think this is kind of the logic that European institutions are going along. But I didn't mean to interrupt, I'm sorry.
Well, we were lucky that there were no looting, no riots, nothing. People behave super civilized. I don't know if that's a cultural thing. And the most striking thing is that people that had cash all were in the terraces. We had a very beautiful day, and they were drinking beer before it started to get a little bit warm. And no kidding, and you could see people, dancing in the streets like, okay, there is nothing we can do, so at least, and it took to recover, at least in Madrid, because they had to do it from Morocco. They were getting electricity, and from France, we were just in the center, so we were the last to get electricity, 10 hours. 10 hours, so the night came out, and the refrigerator was not cold anymore. And yeah, what do you do? We had some news that were voiced by, word of mouth, because we didn't have even a radio. And they said they're working on it, and within the next 6 hours, that wasn't true, there will be electricity. So I would think that many people that used to be cashless hardliners, I'm sure they have learned a lesson.
And there was someone earlier who mentioned that even across the European average, 40% of transactions still happen in cash. Someone mentioned this. I really forgot who said this.
This is a statistic, yeah.
Yeah.
Eurostat.
So even without power outages, cash is still maybe not the king, but the queen, I suppose. Maybe someone else wants to chime in with anything? Okay. Well, I have a question about financial education, a topic that I really, really enjoy. Maybe Akil or Miloš, whoever wants to take the topic first. We have about 3 more minutes, and I would love to hear about what's going on in NGOs, government programs. How high is the financial education of the general population, high up on the list of priorities of the governments, I suppose?
Well, actually, in Albania, we have a lot of initiatives with the government, with IFC about financial education and financial literacy. We have some programs about QR payments, some initiatives, some pilot programs that the government is doing, mainly focusing with the elderly and the very young generation. But of course, it needs to be done a lot of work, a lot of more follow-up, because once the pilot program finished, for example, there was no follow-up to continue it or like make a statement about it, make a report. It just ended. It was good while it lasted, but when it ended, no report.
Kind of ad
no
hoc, and that was
yeah.
it. Okay. Miloš?
I would say that it's not only a regional problem. I would say that financial literacy is actually a problem on a larger scale. I think we heard today that €1 trillion is sitting in bank accounts not doing anything. And I think that shows actually implicitly the level of financial literacy across Europe, and it's a world issue. I think it needs to be brought into the educational system. And it's a responsibility of the countries actually to inject this into the educational system. But again, also the banks need to improve really much the UX of their applications. If you think generally on the mobile app of a banking, every single mobile bank actually expects you to be a banker, not to be a user. So to know exactly how to fill in a form of 100 fields, what they mean, and so on, while not actually training end users and doing a proper onboarding of what they could do with the assets they actually have. So it needs to be much more proactive, and it needs to include something that would actually lift the knowledge in another way. So including gamification within the applications and stuff like that, somewhere where this is really close to the end user so that they can actually learn. And I think the financial literacy is a key to success of this region and unlocking its potential, because that's actually where I mean, we are talking about apps and services and everything, but the prerequisite for that is actually to make use of it through education.
So we called out the legacy banks. I don't know if any of them want to comment on the UX as the final note, because we have 30 seconds left, if they want to chime in the discussion. Any banks? No? Fair enough. Jose, maybe closing remarks, and we wrap it up for today.
Well, I'd like to close maybe like my colleague said, everything is going to be all right. So when it comes to security, yes, definitely holding some cash is not a bad idea. Let me tell you a personal anecdote that has nothing to do with this. The very hard lesson I learned about the importance of holding cash happened in 2010 when I was in Haiti. I had to undergo through the quake. It was a very unpleasant experience, as you can imagine. We were locked in for 5 days with, as you know, 300,000 people died. And the only way I could get out of the country is because we paid more than 5,000 K to Blackwaters to put me in the border of Santo Domingo in the other part of the island. So sometimes holding cash, not only for this, but also for emergencies, if you are in let's say very dangerous countries or countries where they're prone to have natural disasters, is not a bad story. Okay, and this is not just holding 500, but.
Thank you. I have nothing else. Sorry, we ran out of time. I'm really sorry. But you can. Jasna, where's my Jasna? Is she not around? She is not around. I cannot get an extension on the panel, I'm afraid. So thank you, and we have to move on to the next one. I'm very sorry.